Hey, it's Joe. This one is from Clara Lao. She says, thanks for answering all of our questions. If the property is currently tenanted, what do we do? Do we still market the property as per normal and take buyers to view it? Well, first of all, you need to find out what the seller's plan is and what the tenant's plan is. Some people say, well, could I just go to that seller and sell it to them on a lease option and take a lease option fee? I've never seen that work, ever. So I wouldn't even bother with that situation. It's possible they could have some extra money. The likelihood that they want to buy that house, I think it's unlikely. So don't mess with that. Instead, ask the seller, when are these people going to be out of the house? If they're going to be out in just a couple weeks, it might make sense for you to wait for them to move out. Or if the seller is willing to work with that tenant, and that tenant, a lot of times the tenant maybe wants to move out before the end of their lease. And what you can do as a seller is offer that tenant, look, allow us to get it, show the property, keep it nice, and let us show it whenever we need to. And then we'll let you out of the lease as soon as that new person moves in. And that way they don't have to pay months and months on their lease. You can get a new person in there and you can get cooperation from them to show it. Sometimes you have a tenant in there who's not paying, and then you want to get your seller to hire an attorney and get them evicted and get them out of there as quickly as possible. Sometimes you might want to say to the seller, why don't you give them $500 to move if they'll leave, by next Wednesday. And if they'll do that, then you can solve the problem that way. It's very difficult, or maybe not very, it's more difficult to sell a property that has a tenant in it than it is to sell a vacant property, because the tenant doesn't have an interest in keeping it filled. So use some of the techniques that I just gave you in order to work with those tenants in order to get them out of that property so that you can get it sold. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can go to the seller. Let's say we have that tenant. We want to keep that tenant. He's a good, strong, solid tenant, but he still wants to sell the house. He needs an investor to buy that property. So what we could do is take that property, subject to, or we could sell it on a land contract to a new investor. And that would be a very easy property to sell and get $10,000 down from an investor who will maybe get $200 a month income on that property on his $10,000. That's 24% return on your investment. That's a great deal for an investor. Plus he gets a property they didn't have to qualify for, and he leverages out his income and buys a nice property. So there's that way as well. All right, hope that helps. Thanks.